Phil again. It's another month. This time May. Well, it's June now, but for the May movie, me, Lilith, and Charlie are reviewing X-Men Apocalypse, and well, it's kind of an apocalypse. So,
yeah.
Who wants to swing? who wants to swing first?
Well, I want to get this out of the way right now. They did in this film exactly what they did in Batman v Superman at the start, which was they introduced characters never met, but said, "Oh, but they're like so important to this main character, so that when they die, that's our impetus." In Batman v Superman, it was Dan. Yeah, and that was, and I don't know why they killed them. It's like, you introduce these characters, and not for nothing, those were cool characters, and the idea that there's this Nina character, like Nina Max or Nina, whatever Eric's last name is, Magneto. That this character, who could speak to animals and control animals. That was like a cool mutant power. Mm-hmm. And why are we creating an awesome character just to fridge her?
You hit the nail on the head. That's the thing that they like to do.
But it's like, why?
Man-pain.
Well, plus
man-pain cells.
Well, plus, I think I think it's lazy writing too. They needed a quick excuse for why would Magneto join up with Apocalypse to destroy most of the planet.
Repeat, though, Phil. It's like that's what happens every movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just bad, and and here's the thing: if these had been characters from the comics, if this had had a basis where we could do headcanon and fill in who we're looking at and what's going on, that would have been cool. But there wasn't, so we just have to take it at face value and then just go with it. And again, they could have had Magneto arrested. They could have had him being mistreated in prison. They could have done a lot of great things to drive Magneto to the edge, aside from kill his family.
Yeah. Well,
and
the whole thing with the family too. I think they needed an excuse because that's the tricky thing between each of these movies. 10 years keep passing, so it's like, okay, what's Magneto been doing for 10 years?
Yeah.
Is this a Clint on the farm situation? Is that what you're saying?
Something, it's because the next one's going to be the 90s, I hear. So it's like.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought that they don't have anything on their production slate for X-Men after this for quite a while.
I don't know if it was just a rumor. I thought I saw something online that they were saying, yeah, the next X-Men movie will be set
It's supposed to be, but it's not on the production schedule for quite a while. So
yeah. Although
this is like the end of the trilogy, so this was kind of like it went out with a whimper and not a bang.
Yeah. I will tell you one thing, that because this was something that struck me when I'm watching this. I'm saying, you know what? Fox has no interest in the Fantastic Four. Because if they really had interest in the Fantastic Four, this would have been a great time to have an end credit scene with Rama Tut or something. Just to give a little techno explainer going on. Because they have that character, they can use him, and but they're not bothering because they don't want any of that on their franchise. And it does make sense. Like, you figure that Apocalypse and Rama Tut have had to have some kind of interactions in the past. I don't know. But, I was watching that. I was waiting for Rama Tut to show up, and very disappointed he didn't.
You were sorely disappointed.
My first of many disappointments in this film. And, hey, can I ask a question? What happened to Wanda?
She's over maybe because she's in the MCU movie.
She's taking care of the little daughter. She was. Or something.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, because she was like what? Because they're not twins in the X-Men universe, but she was in the last one, and she was like 5, right?
Well, did they ever say her name was Wanda?
No, it was the older sister upstairs. That was Wanda.
Okay.
See.
But do you think does Fox they have the rights to play with her? Because I mean,
No, they don't.
Well,
she's big in the MCU, so yeah.
Yeah, I think they split the difference on the twins, and they
Yeah.
said, okay, you have Quicksilver. We're going to introduce Quicksilver, but we're going to just wham hit him in the head with a hammer, you know. And you keep Quicksilver. We'll move on from there. You know, we'll have Scarlet. You have Quicksilver, and we'll call it a day, because they probably didn't want to deal with icky girls anyway at Fox, unless they're choking them. That was a controversy with this film, and I don't think that was a good poster. And having seen, they said, well, in context, it's a very dramatic scene. I'm like, yeah, but it's still
In
not a good
context.
visual poster. Yeah, in context, it's not even that important of a moment, Honestly, her transforming from Olivia Munn into Jennifer Lawrence was a more important moment, where she like pulls the fast one. Yeah.
I was gonna say, so don't get me started on Psylocke and Angel. I hate what they did. With
Oh
those
my
characters.
god. No, what I really want to get pissed off about is I got gypped on Jubilee again.
I know.
They cut her again. Did
What
you
was-
not learn your lesson the first time?
Is that the thing? Is that did they have scenes and they cut them? Because I was like, why add her into the movie? She didn't use her powers once. She basically went to the mall with them and then basically got captured. That's it.
Did she even have any lines? I know they
she
did a
had
pro-
one
Was
or
it a
two.
cough?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, this film and that whole running scene with, like I said, it felt like the visual effects were not good in this. Whether we're talking about giant apocalypse, and as I've always said, giant people are bad unless it's all animation, like it was with Giant Man. That wasn't the best Giant Man. I'm still not impressed with Giant Man, but it looked better than any giant person I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And this Giant Man, and it was Darby O'Gill and the Little People. It's just all forced perspective, and it's not. I mean, it was great for 1940s and Darby O'Gill and the Little People. Yes,
Yeah,
it was a
but
fun trick, but nowadays it just doesn't. It gets into that uncanny valley.
Are you talking like when they were in each other's heads? I mean, you can maybe. I mean, it's a horrible excuse, but maybe you can make the excuse it wasn't actually in reality. It was like on the astral plane, or
But then they could have even cartooned it up a bit more, which would have made it look more real.
Mhm.
They could have had them be translucent. They could have, because the real problem with the 50-foot woman or the 50, any giant human, any giant live action human, the problem is it falls into the uncanny valley. It looks too human, but also looks fake. And for me anyway, that's one of these things that just always takes me out of it. That no giant live action human looks good. And I'm not sure why it is per se, but it always pulls me right out of it. And I just didn't feel this looked good. And then this is like one of these things in this because, and obviously we're way into spoilers here because, I don't know if we're actually going to tell the plot of the movie in this.
We always are.
Like, oh, hooray, we've defeated Apocalypse by awakening the Phoenix Force.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's just rehash after rehash in this movie, though, Charlie. Like, from all the other films, and what really ticked me off is like, okay, we basically reset the timeline in the last one, but it's like the writers and the director forgot that, and they're like making mention of things that happened where technically that timeline should be gone.
Yeah, well, it's...
Well, if they do the Phoenix this time, maybe they'll do it right and make it like a universal force instead of a split personality thing or whatever stupid thing they did.
Well, they never really explained it.
I'd
in the
rather
other...
have Starjammers over Phoenix Saga again. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, we're not going to get Starjammers because we saw both Summers' parents. So he apparently did not go off to space.
Yes,
He's still in Virginia, and. Was that the same actor who played Havoc in First Class?
Yes, it was. Little baby face 10 years later, or 20 years later at this point.
Well, yeah. Well, that's even the thing. That's even the thing Professor X said about Myra McTaggart, he's like, oh, she looks like she hasn't aged a day, because meanwhile it's been 20 years since First Class.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well,
I got so annoyed with that.
yes. It was, it's comic book aging, In comic
Well,
books,
yeah, because in the Marvel, is it still in the Marvel universe where everything is only like contained within 10 years, like all past events are like 10 years or whatever? Even if it's like a 30-year-old storyline?
Yeah, they actually touched on that in the Ultimates recently, where they discovered there's a cage around certain events that when things flow through time, certain points in time get pulled forward, like in the eddies of the flow
Y'all
of
need
time.
an anti-monitor. That's all.
Yeah, it's all cool. The problem with it for me, and honestly, that the time jumping, that doesn't even bother me that much. I remember someone had posted a meme where you have like James McAvoy, and in 1973 or 1970, and then Patrick Stewart was supposed to be in like 1983, and it's like, oh, those years were really hard on poor Professor Xavier, Yeah, it's it is what it is. I guess now we have a reason why he's bald, because apparently Apocalypse
And why Storm's hair
made
is
his hair
white.
fall
It
out.
was the origins of hair stories.
Yes, well, because that deserves an origin. Wolverine doesn't deserve an origin, but hair.
Hey,
We're gonna work.
this movie was set in the 80s. They should have called it X-Men Hairband.
Yes, well, it's I don't know. And then was like this other thing where like some people were getting like all jacked up by it, was like just there, nothing happens to Magneto when Apocalypse upgrades him, but like Angel's getting like all face painted, like he's a kid at a carnival, and Storm gets her hair, but Olivia Munn, she just I guess she gets a fancier side
Ninja bathing suit.
Ninja bathing. Well, she had the ninja bathing suit before, because it's cosplay. I think Olivia Munn's into cosplay, so she might have insisted on that. I don't know.
Wait, but I have a question. It felt like Jean Grey and Psylocke changed a little bit some of their powers. I was just like, but why? Was it just me?
Well, I don't even know what Psylocke's powers were. I mean, Psylocke didn't have any psychic powers in this. She just had the Force daggers.
They're like they're like Psyblades. They're like an offshoot of her mental powers. But yeah, she's supposed to be like a telepath too. So, but they never said that.
Oh yeah. No, and they just did not do that.
Okay.
This one.
Well, that's what I said. I completely hated what they did with Angel and Psylocke. I mean, they were X-Men, and they were like just like straight up villains in this thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of nothing to do, Nightcrawler?
He had to stand around in the Michael Jackson
jacket. No, he actually did a lot of stuff. He had lines, and he teleported everybody. He actually did a lot of good stuff. They were inconsistent with his powers, because he's not supposed to be able to teleport where he can't see. And yet he does.
He even says as much
a couple times in the film.
Well, I don't think it's an inability.
Yeah, but he's pushing powers.
Yeah, but I don't.
Yeah, I know. It's just the danger of it.
Yeah, it's just it could end up in a wall or solid matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which happened to several people in this. So, and apparently, Apocalypse is now the Molecule Man, so that's good. That seems like what his powers were doing.
I know. Because even Tyler like texted me. We were talking about it after I saw it. He's like, "Are those Apocalypse's powers in the comics?" I'm like, "No." No.
No, they didn't really. And what's kind of weird to me in this is like, okay, so because like when Apocalypse went into the new body at the beginning, it's because this is the body with the healing factor. So they said now you can live forever. But does he lose that when he goes into Xavier's body?
No, he takes him with him though, right? That's the point of it. I thought that was his first power, technically.
Yeah,
that he could do that.
Okay.
I think that's what they. Yeah, that's what I got. That they were implying that he takes he keeps every power he takes, but then he keeps adding every body he leaps into, but he keeps all the old ones.
Oh, he's the guy from Heroes.
Yeah, he's Peter Petrelli, baby.
Yeah, there we go, man. Just know how the watch works. It's yeah.
Oh, that's Skylar.
I was gonna say,
Skylar. Yeah, that's what I meant, Skylar. Yeah.
I didn't know the Egyptian for Peter Petrelli was on Sabin Nur.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yes, but
All right, but you know what?
Yeah.
Me and Danielle saw this. We both agreed. I wonder if you agree. This is like, we both said this movie wasn't as good as First Class or Days of Future Past, and like, did the first? I don't know.
It wasn't even as good as Batman versus Superman, in my opinion.
Oh.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far.
At least with Batman versus Superman, they didn't blow up Auschwitz. Like, that really ticked me off too. So it's just like,
oh yeah. The level of destruction on this, honestly, this made Superman versus Zod look like a piker. It's like, oh, Zod was Superman's villain, Tristan. I try to protect them from these scary things, but sometimes they overhear. Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. It's like, they destroyed all of Metropolis, and here it's like, well, Magneto probably cut the world's population in half, because there's no way anybody, like, people. I mean, yes, people probably survived this stuff slightly, but because, and let's face it, it's like it clearly all happened mostly near the coasts. That's where most of the human population is. Like, if you were out in Kansas, you were fine, I guess, is the implication. But, but New York, LA, Sydney, any port city, London, these places are devastated now. Millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of people are dead. Thank you, Eric Leshner. Thank you, Magneto. You're pretty messed up there, dude. That's like...
But it's cool.
And
him and Xavier dude bros again. It doesn't matter.
How many freaking mutants died in all that, too? It's not like mutants are like, it's not like they had, like, the blood of the lamb over their doorstops. It's like, nope, everybody's going to die. It's like, hopefully whatever mutant power you have is a power that lets you not be torn apart by debris. So Boulder survived. Everybody else, and again, they screwed up the Blob, and that's always annoying.
How would you know? How would you know? You saw him for like 2 seconds. It was basically just him getting carted off.
Yeah, and that's how they screwed him. I mean, I will give them that. Okay, the Angel is the first guy to defeat the Blob, so I'll give them that. But and then, like I said, was that supposed to be Warren Worthington, or was that just some other guy with wings?
I assumed it was supposed to be Warren Worthington, but they never really said that either.
Yeah, it's like...
It's an Easter egg. Take it as you will. Because they're too lazy to figure it out.
It's like when they decided to make Juggernaut.
Oh. Why'd you bring that up?
But it's like... Well, that's the thing. I mean, think about it. Fox is putting the Angel in every, like, crappy third X-Men movie.
True.
And they did say the third one is always the worst.
In almost any trilogy, that is true, though.
Yeah, unless it's Captain America.
But it is true. Yeah, which turned out to be the best.
Exactly. Yeah, well, because it's Cap, and he just gets better. He is made better. Like the Michigan brand potato chips.
No Hydra.
El Hydra, yes.
Don't you dare.
I've completely explained it. By next issue, it's all going to be, that's what that was.
He needed a Snickers. That's my headcanon.
He's better now. No, but I don't think this was... Here's what I'll tell you. This is not as bad as Batman v Superman, because in this one, nobody forgot they had powers. Because, like, when Superman forgot, wait, I have super... Well, all I know is that when Quicksilver came across a bomb blowing up, he ran in and got everyone out with his super speed. And Superman was like, oh, that's a bomb. Oh. speed.
Shots fired.
Wait. Let me get my power
Secretly,
together.
he hates humanity, and he shouldn't have been on trial anyway. I'll give him that one.
It's like he has super speed. He can like see. Oh, that's a bomb exploding, and like what?
It's a Frank Miller adaptation of Superman. He hates Superman, so I just let that go.
I don't know, man. But I'm sitting like,
But at the same time, Quicksilver can't say, "Hey, Magneto, stop destroying the world and come be my dad. You still have family."
Well,
Just saying.
you know what? Here's what I'm gonna say. I kind of got that for the most part, expressly because he's like, "Oh, my dad's a genocidal maniac." I could possibly tell him that I'm his son, but first off, are they gonna think, "Oh, hey, I'm your son too, Magneto. Yeah, you got lots of family. Remember how you were just all over the place, sowing your seeds as it were?" You know?
Yeah, but if nothing else, maybe if he had said that, it would have at least like slowed Magneto down long enough for someone to take a shot at him or something.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was waiting for that, but I guess they felt that would have been too pat. After doing everything else really pat, I guess they said, no. You know, we gave him a family and killed them just for motivation. We're not going to just have him say, "Oh, go, Sonny boy. Now I'll never roam." You know, like Melvin Junko. Oh, I'll never roam again.
Obscure references.
Yes.
But did anyone else think like the first, I don't know, what, half hour or so was kind of slow?
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very slow. And like I said, you know what it was? You know, here's the thing. Slow isn't bad if you're building something. But it seems like, it was... Here's what it is. They were building stuff that they were going to knock down. Mm-hmm. Because they're building the family, they're building the school, and things are slow, and that's fine. But then they just go for the most obvious next steps for everything. You know?
Well, yeah, instead of building infrastructure like the MCU does, they just build a house of cards that they can knock over 5 minutes later.
Yeah, well, and that's because, and for what it's worth, that's because, you know, X-Men, the problem with the X-Men is that they've sort of written themselves into corners because they got these, you know what the X-Men's problem is? They got Stewart and McKellen to be Xavier and Magneto early. And those were fantastic bits of casting. But then those guys kept on aging, which happened.
Well, not Patrick Stewart.
I mean, they're people who play old men roles, and so they've been playing old men roles, you know, like for 40 years now. You know, I mean, you know, that's what, you know, that's the old rule is that, you know, if you go bald in your 20s as an actor, you're never going to be without work. You know, so long as you're not committed to playing the lead, you will always work because they always need a middle-aged bald guy. And they don't care. And if you're 20, you can play the middle-aged bald guy. And if you're, you know, as an example, Michael Chiklis, when he was the commish, was like 22. You know?
Oh, that's really hard to believe, but yeah.
Yeah, he was like insanely young when he was playing. I got kids in college, and he had like graduated college like the year before. But he was fat and bald at an early age. And as a result, he could play fat, bald men for the rest of his life, for his entire career. And then, of course, you know, he lost the weight, and then he got to be the buff, bald guy. And so now he's like the middle-aged, buff, bald guy, which is a whole other set of roles that the man has. And so he's doing good. And, you know, Patrick Stewart was in that same spot, you know. Went bald young and then just got a lot of work. Because he's been bald since Dune, you know? He's looked pretty much that exact same guy.
Exactly.
Since the 80s. So
much so that unnecessary facelift from X2 was just like, really? No, it was X3. It's just like, you did not need to do that.
Well, for what it's worth, as we see with Robert Downey Jr., they can just, you know, zap you younger, you know?
When
they
you
do
got
this,
that
you know,
Disney money, yes, it looks good.
Well-
When you got that Fox money, not so much.
No, I refuse to believe that this film had any less of a budget than any Marvel movie. I don't believe that Marvel spends like that. Because first off, we know that Perlmutter doesn't spend like that. He is real tight with a dime. But they still make it work because maybe they just have better people working there.
Yeah, but
And
when you make $1 billion a movie, you can spend more. I mean, look at what this movie made. What, $65 million opening weekend?
Yeah,
The
Well,
budget was
100 million.
178.
that's still
Apparently,
pretty
at the
good.
box office, it's 291. So
Yeah. I mean, you know, here's what I'm going to say. I don't think the effects were bad because they didn't spend enough. I think the effects were bad because they just weren't good effects. I don't think they put enough money into the effects. And then the danger room scene at the end where they're fighting the Sentinels,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get that. First off, because, okay, we're going to do a danger room scene and not actually do a danger room scene. You know?
I think that Pepsi commercial from like when the first class came out was a better danger room scene than that one.
Well, didn't they
Yeah.
do Danger Room in, what was it, X3 or something? Was it
Mhm.
X2 or X3? Yeah, and like as horrible as X3 was, at least they did a lot better Danger Room, I think, there. It was all holographic and stuff.
You know, can I just say something right now? If they want to do an expanded X-Men universe, why aren't they introducing this Shi'ar? Why aren't they introducing? Because they have rights to alien invaders. What better way to sort of give an external threat to unite mutants and humanity than alien invaders?
And that can get you to Dark Phoenix, too.
Exactly. It's, you know, it's like they don't even, you know,
They're
like
not
I said,
trying.
They're not
not.
trying. They're not. And you know, and me and Lilith were talking about this earlier. It's the same problem with Batman v Superman. They have a marquee. And if you have a marquee, you don't have to try hard. Because you're gonna make money. You know, if you don't spend too much money, you're gonna make your money back because, you know, it's a marquee character. It's something people are gonna go see. Now, that said, this is like the first X-Men film I've seen in the theaters in a while. Because I didn't see Days of Futures Past in the theaters. I didn't see First Class in the theaters. I think the last one I saw in the theaters was X3, which I can't remember.
We
if
don't
that's,
blame you, Ben.
I don't know if that was that X-Men United or was that
Yes.
Last Stand?
Oh, wait,
that was
no,
X-Men.
Last Stand.
It was Last Stand.
Yeah.
Last
X2
Stand, you know?
is United.
Yeah.
Yeah, which had Warren Worthington, had the Juggernaut, which was not good, but you know. But I do
They
like that.
tried.
I like that actor because he's also been the Punisher. He has 3 Marvel characters on his resume.
And he was Brick on Arrow.
No,
Oh, he
that.
was?
Oh yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
Vinnie Jones.
That wasn't Vinnie Jones as
Oh,
the
that's Vinny
Juggernaut?
Jones. Oh,
Yeah, that's Vinnie Jones as the Juggernaut. I didn't know Vinnie Jones was in Daredevil.
No, Arrow.
No, I thought he was the I thought that who's the guy who played the Punisher and now he's Volstagg.
Oh, and Punisher was a Punisher War.
Punisher
did he do
War.
Punisher Warzone?
That's Thomas
Wars-
Jane,
yeah.
isn't it?
No, that was in the first. They did a one after that, and what?
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
God.
was the guy who plays Volstagg, and I love him because he was the guy from Rome. He was the big dumb gladiator or the big dumb soldier who slept with Cleopatra. Was that the only one who saw Rome? That explains why they don't.
I
I
didn't
saw
see
like
it,
the pilot. That's it.
Yeah. Now I'm blanking on his name. It's something Jones, I think, but I can't remember.
Well, that is Vinnie Jones, isn't it? Or...
Yeah.
I think, yeah. We'll just quickly IMDb it here.
We're stuck in the X3 vortex.
It's so bad it just keeps sucking you back in.
It's like a black hole of suck.
It really is.
There we go. We're just going to look up actor Volstagg. Ray Stevenson, that's who I'm thinking of. Ray Stevenson. So I thought Ray Stevenson had played the Juggernaut, but I guess that was someone else.
Yeah, no, I think it's Vinnie. I think it was that.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
Vinnie
that
Jones.
Vinnie Jones. Yeah.
Vinnie
Okay,
Jones
so that
is
was
the
not.
treasure.
Yeah. Well, good for him.
Maybe change his name after that movie.
Yeah, no, he wasn't in X-Men. He doesn't have an X-Men thing here. So he's only been in 2 Marvel movies, The Punisher and then Volstagg. Although I'm still hoping they give him a series with Lady Sif. You know, I want to see a buddy Asgardian cop drama of Volstagg and Sif. And that's what you just call Volstagg and Sif. That is your next Netflix series, Disney. Volstagg and Sif. They're Asgardians. They fight crime. Yes.
So the 4th actor to play William Stryker, I love it. We can't get any consistency.
The 4th?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I don't know. Well, I know there was that one in X2, or is it the 3rd? Because we had one in X2, we had one in Wolverine Origins, and then wasn't this the same guy from Days of Future Past?
Was it?
I thought
was he the only one that aged a little bit?
Maybe.
Maybe that's what it is. Well, anyway, the 3rd guy in the 4th movie or something like that.
Yes. Okay, I want to raise a point here about the end credit scene, which took entirely too long to get to.
Yeah.
Which Lilith didn't even stay for.
I was going to YouTube it and then Phil just told me, so I just go with it.
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, I got that was the guy from Deadpool.
I didn't even get that, but okay.
That wasn't? I thought that was the guy.
No, I didn't recognize him. It could have been.
Yeah, well, I mean, or he was certainly dressed like it, so he was obviously of the same organization.
Uh-huh.
That's sort of what I took that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Phil's the one that actually has to explain to me, well, Essex is Mr. Sinister's original last name.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to me, is like, really? That is some obscure Easter egg, you know?
Oh yeah, I had to explain that to everyone except for Lilith. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, because I mean, I'd have known Mr. Sinister, sure, you know. And it's just such a strange. I mean, it's great to suggest Mr. Sinister, but then maybe not make it quite so subtle. I mean,
yeah, but Charlie, you get more guys to work for you if you call yourself Mr. Essex instead of Mr. Sinister.
And can we talk about how this character is barely 30 years old anyway? I was just like, really? I just want a little more like Mr. Sinister for that to be an Easter egg. He's a pretty young character in the grand scheme of things. Just saying.
Oh, you mean in the Marvel, in the comic books? Yeah. Well, yeah, but you know, it's like, you know, some characters just grow their own things. I mean, I've never quite understood. I actually liked the original written origin for Mr. Sinister was that he was supposed to be the imaginary friend of like an Omega level mutant boy, and then the writer who had conceived of that like was off the book, and then the next writer just decided to make Mr. Sinister an actual character. But his original origin was that he was because the first couple times you see him, he's always in the presence of this little superpowered mutant boy. And he's always hanging around him. And that's why he was called Mr. Sinister, because it's a silly name it's a silly supervillain name that a small child would come up with. And I thought that is just a brilliant origin for this. You know, that he's basically the foster's home for imaginary friends who went evil, you know?
Oh my God.
You know, he's the supervillain imaginary friend, and that was just kind of awesome, and that he might be willed into existence even as a concept. And if I ever get to write it, I'm going to retcon that Omega level mutant child actually just altered history to create his imaginary friend supervillain. So
yeah, and he takes that vial of Wolverine's blood. So are we thinking that's going to be X-23 then?
But you know what? Why it's apropos they put him in here? It's because of that crossover story with the storyline Executioner Sound, where he impersonates Apocalypse and then gets those 4 horsemen to capture Cyclops and Jean.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what I was thinking when you said Mr. Sinister. I was like, oh, I could see that.
Yeah. And here, I just thought it was supposed to be a callback to the Deadpool franchise. So, because that was real popular. The kids like the Deadpool. Let's try to put some about Deadpool in here.
Well, I was gonna say, do you think that's another reason this movie suffered? Is it's the next Fox movie after Deadpool, and they did so well with Deadpool?
But Deadpool was basically an independent superhero film when you compare the budget to everything else around it and all the things that they did to make sure that movie wouldn't be a success. I'm just saying.
It just proves, I think, that you don't have to spend $1 billion, but if you stick close to the source material, like I don't know, the X-Men stuff, they just seem to pick and choose and
mix and match.
Yeah.
You know what? If they're smart, if this was the last of the franchise, what they should do is go forward with an X-Men universe that has Deadpool in it. And so we're going to go forward, and it's our Deadpool Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and then we can get other actors in, because Jennifer Lawrence is already and this is
She's
the thing
already
I'm
done
going to say.
with it, thank God.
Yeah, you know what? And not for nothing. And this is something that we said on Super Connectivity the other day. This is where you can tell the difference between studios, because the guys who work on the Marvel films,
they beg
Evans.
for it.
Oh yeah, they're like, but Chris Evans said it best. He said it's not like we're doing bad films. It's like every time I show up, it's like, oh, we get to do this film, and it's this thing that's on his calendar. It is steady work on his calendar. He knows he's got. These couple weeks on this year, that's what he's doing. He's doing this film, and it's going to be a good script with great people to work with. In this loving and nurturing environment of the Disney Marvel family, and then you get the people over at Sony and they're like they all can't wait to jump ship. They're
like, dear God, make it end.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course like all of the first round X-Men apparently are really mad at all the second round X-Men, because I guess Halle Berry wouldn't even talk to the girl who played Storm in this one,
Alexandra Shipp. I thought she did an okay job, but I don't know. I think a lot of people were rooting for a certain other person to do it.
Well, here's what I'll say: they did an okay job with her, but they had her do her heel face turn too late. Because she should have done the heel face turn right when she realized that Apocalypse was killing Mystique, who she said she is my hero.
Yeah.
That's when you do the heel face turn. That's when you say, my brother is dead and that kind of thing.
I just want them to get rid of Storm so she can go hook up with T'Challa. I'm just saying, that's my everything right there.
Well,
you have Black Panther movie, yes.
Mm-hmm. It's too late for that,
but they haven't said who what's her name is playing yet, because it cast his love interest.
Lupita,
so who knows? Who knows? Lupita's the love interest. So who knows? Maybe by the time we get to, it all comes down to Homecoming. After Homecoming, everything's. If Homecoming makes $1 billion, as it really will, if it makes $1 billion and gets good reviews, everybody's going to be coming home. Because
Fantastic Four are already on their way home. So,
officially they're not. Once again, they said, no, we've got big plans for the Fantastic Four.
No, and they're coming home. Sorry.
Then but like I said, if they have plans, then where's Rama Tut? No, because that's the thing. They could, they could have just put an Easter egg in there. They could have just did something to reference Rama Tut in there. And
I told you, Ant-Man 2, they're going into the microverse and they're going to find the Fantastic Four. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that would be great, man. Well, so here's what we have in Ant-Man. We have Jen Walters showing up to get Paul Rudd out of prison. To basically get him cleared, and to get, and you're going to open it up with Jen Walters deposing now private citizen Ross, because he's been kicked out because he's lost his Secretary of State job too again after the last fiasco, after the Wakandan fiasco, and because he lost his generalship after this is my headcanon, as after Harlem, Jen Walters sued him, made him retire from being a general, because he just, because of his mishandling of the Abomination situation. And then, know, and here he once again crawled his way back up the bar, and here comes Jen Walters going to tear him down again, get Paul Rudd released, and of course, then she tells Paul Rudd to lose her number. And so that's that. And then they go into the microverse, and that's where they find the Fantastic Four. Although I personally want them to go to the negative zone because I'd love to see Annihilus in there, but I do think they took Inhumans off the schedule this week apparently, but I think that's because that's where they're going to put the Fantastic Four film. And I think that actually it's going to be an Inhuman. It's going to be related to the Inhumans. That they're going to introduce the Inhumans in a Fantastic Four film, like the Inhuman royal family.
Oh, nice. That's
my thinking.
But back to this fiasco of a movie.
Yeah, So
was there anything you liked about this movie?
There were actually some things I did like. There were actually some things
Did everyone like the Wolverine at 5 minutes?
No, I felt it was gratuitous. We really didn't need it. If you put it out there, you wouldn't even miss it.
It didn't. I mean, it didn't make any real sense because I don't even know how that fits into all the history we've seen.
Well, after Days of Future Past, I think that kind of rebooted the timeline, so nothing we've seen before could be in the. They definitely want to forget Wolverine Origins.
Do you blame them?
Yeah.
No.
See, I don't think Wolverine's Origins was even that bad of an entry. Here's what I'm going to say. Any of the original round of them, I don't think were as bad as this one.
X3?
No, X3 was... You know what? No, X3 was better than this. I'll concur with you, Charlie. Slightly.
Yeah.
Just by a little bit, by the skin of its teeth.
Well, I'm not saying that they were good. I'm not saying that Wolverine was a good movie. I'm not saying that X3 was a good movie. I'm saying that they were more consistent in story and tone. And... although, here's one thing I will say that kind of made this film for me. Here's actually the thing that I love. This is the part I love the most about the film because it was an Easter egg that gave away the whole film in the first, when we first have Apocalypse show up. Did you see what was on the TV in Storm's apartment? Because it gives away the whole plot of the film right after that.
Oh, the movie?
Well, it wasn't a movie. It was a TV show. Did you recognize what TV show that was?
Was it Avengers? The old...
No, it was Star Trek. Who Mourns for Adonis? About the god Apollo capturing the Enterprise because he wants to rebuild the great old gods of yore to teach these poor... foolish humans that they must worship we the great gods, that you will be content to be a sheep herder and all these things. And of course the point was that the point of that whole episode was that no, humanity has evolved beyond you ancient Greek gods. We don't need you people ruling over us anymore, and they defeat Apollo in that sense, and that is in many ways the exact point of this whole thing was that, as Charles Xavier says to Apocalypse, he's like, you will not win because even if I'm defeated, I am not alone and you are alone. And that's the shtick of it, is that, he, Apocalypse is alone. He does not have the connection to the rest of humanity, and that humanity is going to be able to stand up and push back. That you think you're going to defeat humanity? No, launching all the nuclear bombs. That put us back about a year. As they say at the end of it, they're already rebuilding their arsenal. It's like, of course they are. That's the thing about superheroes in the atomic age is that really. Superheroes aren't that scary compared to a nuclear bomb, and for what it's worth, it's all well and good, but there is this reality to it that Apocalypse was an old god and his time had passed. That said, I hate when you kill the villain at the end of the piece. Though again, possibly he's got that healing factor. He could come back. You know,
But why?
it's but why? Yes. And again, the idea that we've released the Phoenix Force to defeat Apocalypse. This will have no negative downstream effects. You know, and so long as we end this story right now, we all live happily ever after. Yeah, it is what it is, but you know, but that gives so to me that was a great thing. Them using Who Mourns for Adonis as the intro for Apocalypse, which is an Easter egg. Like I said, you'll see that in Cracked in a couple weeks, like Easter eggs that give away the whole film, part 4, and it's like that's the whole film right there is Who Mourns for Adonis, and it's what's playing on the TV when he comes in. And there's another thing about the English language being spoken everywhere in this, like when Eric Leshner goes back. Like, first off, when the cops approach him, they're all speaking English to one another. When Eric goes back to the plant, he's speaking English. And I just wanted someone to say, like, you know, was ist wir know verstehen der English. What are you talking about there? You know, I wanted someone to just sort of, you know, why is he speaking English at us? What is he even saying?
We had some subtitles, but maybe did they do that to like give those sentences like more gravitas? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'll say is that yes, they gave some things with subtitles. So, and that's sort of the thing is like we knew when people were speaking a foreign language, but then that implied that whenever they weren't speaking a foreign language, it was actually English. So, like you can sometimes say, "Oh, well, no, they're just translating it while we're watching it, but they're actually speaking in their own language." But then when you have someone else just speak in their own language and give subtitles, then that says no, we actually are just everyone's just shifting to English now, which
you can't think too hard about it, especially not a Bryan Singer movie. Come on,
Charlie. Everyone in the world is capable of speaking English. Just ask Donald Trump.
Oh God! Oh, you know what? I'll tell you our one saving grace in this world is that no, not everyone does speak English. So there's a good portion of the world that really does not have no idea what Donald Trump is saying.
I thought you meant that they didn't know what this movie was about.
Oh no! Even India got a dose of this movie.
Oh, no wonder parts of the world hate us.
Yeah, but no, I mean, you know, it is. I mean, when I was watching it, this movie didn't offend me as much as Batman v Superman. It did not offend me nearly as much as Fantastic Four. So by the lowest bar, I say this one clears both the Fantastic Four and the Batman v Superman. To me, this is kind of like an Iron Man 2 area, you know.
Oh, Iron Man 2 is much better than this. Come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, what I'm going to say is it's not an offensive film. It just has a lot of weaknesses.
And it's wash, rinse, repeat. It's an X-Men movie. You're going to come see it anyway. So we don't have to really do too much.
Yeah, and you know what it is? Here's what I'm going to tell you. You know, if Fox does want to keep the Fantastic Four, they really should not reboot. Keep everything that has happened and then build from there.
Yeah, but which the latest movie or the two before? Because you've had
the two before
already.
Well, they can't do that.
They could do that. Well, like I said, I really felt what Sony should have done is do the Mayday Parker story and bring back Tobey Maguire and.
Well, leave Kristen Dunst there, though.
Kristen Dunst. Well, again, she didn't offend me. These people don't offend me. They're professional actors. They do their job. None of them, as far as I can tell.
I haven't liked her since Interview with a Vampire. I'm just saying.
When she was like, what, 10?
No, actually, it's the Suicide Diaries. Yeah, there we go.
I liked Interview with the Vampire, and I actually thought she was pretty cool as that character.
Are you telling me that Oscar Isaacs was Apocalypse? That's what you're telling me?
Yeah. I thought that I did not think he was horrible as Apocalypse. Let me put it this way: he wasn't as bad as who played Ronan in Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, at no point did I look at that and say, wait, didn't he play Death in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey? Which is every time that Ronan opened his mouth, I said, that has got to be the same actor who played Death in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. It's like, I was just waiting for him to say, okay, you're a little street sweeper. Sooner or later, you dance with the weeper. And then play his big white bass, To me, that's who Ronan was. He did not strike me as an intimidating character. And to that extent, Oscar Isaacs did not bother me as Apocalypse any more than I think any human being would have bothered me as Apocalypse, because I don't think Apocalypse is a character that is going to visually. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Rather than even going with the armor, they should have gone in a completely different direction with Apocalypse. Just have him be an insanely powerful guy, and don't put all the tubing and piping and freaking horrible 90s art design on him.
Aesthetics, yeah.
Yeah, they weren't going to get that armor right anyway, so yeah.
No, let's just to call a shelter have an entrenching tool. When we're looking at Apocalypse, we're looking at the worst of 80s big gun, big arm design. Because that's what he was. He was just big arms, big guns, and a big A on his belt buckle. Because he's using the Roman alphabet, even though he's Egyptian. Sure, we'll go along with it.
Don't bring it, Charlie.
Yeah, I know, but it's like he's not a well-designed character. He's not. I've always thought Apocalypse looked silly.
Even in the cartoon, he looked silly.
Yeah, exactly. So saying, "Oh, he looks silly," it's like, well, he is Apocalypse. They weren't going to make him not look silly, And like I said, if they really wanted to do something different. And that's the thing, here's the thing that I'll say about these things is like, you are allowed to break the rules. You're allowed to tell a completely different story. Just tell it well. Nothing in the MCU is particularly close to the comic books, really, if we're honest about it. They play and they dance around certain issues, but they're their own things. But they are close enough to the comics that people go, oh, yeah, that's cool. And more importantly, when they take liberties, they actually still tell a good story. Mm-hmm. You can take as many liberties as you want. That's what Lou Ferrigno's Hulk taught us, is that you can completely throw out the books and still tell a good story that people are going to like and respect. You don't have to be slavish to the books. You don't have to give all this fan service, because the fans don't even want fan service per se. I mean, we like it. It's fun. But if all you're going to do is give us fan service, that's boring and that's not interesting. You have to give us something we're not expecting, and if you just sort of hit the same notes over and over again, and not for nothing, just short shrift characters, I mean, that's the thing of it. A team book is like 4 to 6 characters at most. And how many characters do you have running around here? Like, no one gets properly developed. Even the people that have been spread across 3 films still don't have strong enough motivations, I don't feel, and really these characters are really kind of spread across 6, 7 films at this point, and you're still wondering, like, where are we going with this,
Yeah, they basically just go with, we're fighting for mutants, and just drop it at that.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, and if you want to tell the mutant story, what would be great? I'd love to see the mutant story where humans aren't necessarily the bad guys, because mutants are kind of scary, considering, and like, Purple Man is the scariest freaking villain ever. And if you want to understand why people are afraid of superhuman beings, watch Jessica Jones. Because you go, oh yeah, that's scary as all get out. That is something that is the most monstrous, horrifical character you could ever have. And he's a B-rate villain. Let's be honest here. Purple Man was always a B-rate villain. And the fact is that, like I've said, guys like him, the Ringmaster, the Puppet Master, these guys aren't the scary villains. And they're really, in their own way, some of the most frightening people. And then you think, but then you're going to go one notch up with a Doctor Doom, one notch up with a Magneto. And, yeah, these people are really freaking scary, And maybe, you don't want to say, some are good and some are bad. Yeah, but we are human beings, and we don't know how to deal with the fact that, people always, compare superpowers to guns. The difference between superpowers and guns is that guns don't just get up and start and make their own decisions, which of course is the counter argument when you talk about, superhuman registration. It's like, yes, they are living weapons, but they're also alive. They are actual people. You can't just treat them like a physical object. They actually have rights and a humanity that needs to be considered. And in that very complex, very interesting debate, you could do a really great mutant universe, but you've got to be willing to tell the tale and not worry about, is this bigger? Is this splashier? Have we gotten to all of our fan service yet? Because not for nothing, the X-Men kind of existed for decades with a real small villain roster, Mm-hmm. It was really, you had the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. That was it, And it was just, and of course, now when you got into the Claremont era, you did start to expand, and that's when you get your Hellfire Club. But then it's that, That's the thing, is like, you don't have to hit everything. You just have to tell a good story and develop why these people have these opinions, and maybe not make it completely pedestrian in why they have these opinions, Don't oversell the, mutants are gay people, mutants are minority are the minority, and everyone's just being unthoughtful. And it's like, well, the difference between gay people and minority people is, gay people don't shoot lasers out of their eyes, Gay people can't actually turn you gay, I mean, that's the thing. They actually don't have that superpower. So they are way, way, way less frightening than someone like Professor Xavier, who could actually turn you gay. He could do that. That is with his what?
Persuasion.
Yeah, exactly. He could, and of course, in the comic books, he actually does say that's not as easy as you think it is, but he does say he could do it. He does say, I could make you wear a dress and think your name was Doris. It says this to Tony Stark, but in the back of your mind, there would always be a part of you that knew that was not true, and it would eventually break itself free, which is great. Which is, nice news to hear. Just after the fact, he says, but I could do it, just so you know. I could absolutely, completely rewrite your mind if I wanted to, Tony. I don't want to do that. That's not how I like to use my powers.
Somebody needs to do something for Tony, because he's the captain of bad decisions. Just saying.
Yeah, well, but that's his character. That's the Marvel thing, is flawed heroes, heroes that don't always make the right decision, and Tony's still making bad decisions all the way into the most recent Civil War. And it's, yeah.
No, I was going to say, I got an email from my coworker Jack again, who always has the exact opposite viewpoint of us. Yeah.
You like this movie?
Well, okay. He put, hey guys, I really don't understand the hate this movie is getting. I thought it was a great time. I think they just resented the 80ness of it all. X-Men Miami Vice. How could you ask for more? The pastels, the tacky sport coats, the shaggy hair, Jennifer Lawrence, and braless punk garb. Don't resent the time. Embrace it.
Yes.
Does he drink before he goes to see these movies? I think that's what we should start doing, Charlie.
I'm pretty sure he does.
But that's not here. That doesn't help. It certainly didn't help with Batman v Superman. No, what I'm gonna what I'm going to say, well, here's what, like I said, it wasn't that. So I watched the film. You know, there's no reason to applaud at the end of a film. But when a film is good, people do.
Mm-hmm.
Dead silence in this film. Just dead. Like, not even one person, like, not even like a golf clap. Just
Nobody tried to slow clap it out.
Nobody was like, you know, it was a matinee. It was 6:45. What am I going to complain about? You know, and that's sort of where I'm at with that. It's like, it was, you know, it was a fine. I mean, like I said, what makes these movies bad when these movies are bad? Why Batman v Superman was bad? Why Fantastic Four was bad? Well, no, Fantastic Four was actually a bad film in and of itself. It was a bad film, and Josh Trank should feel ashamed. I don't necessarily feel these people should feel ashamed. I don't necessarily even think that Zack Snyder should. Well, Zack Snyder maybe should feel ashamed a little bit because what is frustrating is the wasted potential. That we know these stories can be done well. We know these stories can be done right. We know that these stories can expand beyond the universe in which they were stemmed, you know? Mm-hmm. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, believe it or not, some of the best characters in comic book stories don't come from the comic books. They're originated outside of the comic books, and then they get integrated back in. You know, X-23, Jimmy Olsen wasn't in the comics until he was Jimmy Olsen on the radio show. A lot of characters start elsewhere as different things, but they catch on, and then they bring them into the books because that's what these other properties are for, to experiment in a non-continuity space where you can come up with a great idea like, hey, what if we create a love triangle between the Falcon, Scarlet Witch, and Vision? Watch for it in the upcoming Avengers films. You're going to see it because they hinted at it in the last in Captain America that there was something going on between Falcon and Scarlet Witch, and Vision was trying to make his time. But now, you know, Sam and Scarlet are off together in the Secret Avengers, and Vision's all by himself, mopey. So, you know, that whole triangle, that's going to be a thing. And that, you know, and the idea that Scarlet Witch and Sam Wilson might have a connection, that's completely not from the comic books. That's from Superhero Squad. But you know what? The moment they did it there, it made sense. And I guarantee you that's going to get integrated somewhere along the line, especially since Vision and Scarlet Witch really aren't together anymore. You know, they got to marry these people off. And honestly, it's a better match than you think. When you put them together, there actually is a chemistry. Don't know what it is. Maybe it's outsider status. Maybe it's being seen as other people's carry-ons, you know, being the sidekick or the Brotherhood of Evil Mutant, you know, but this is where you get that chance to expand it, and that's what they had an opportunity here. They could take a character like Warren Worthington III, who is going to become the Angel of Death, and give him an arc, but they don't. Instead, they just have Nightcrawler screw up. Well, actually, what they have is they have Mystique screw up his wings, which, you know, and having a character with flight in a cage match, does that even make much sense to anyone? I don't know. But they have Mystique screw up his wings because rather than turn the power off, she turns the power way up to blow the circuits. I would think turning the power off would have been just as effective, you know? And
Raven makes terrible life choices too. It's okay.
Yeah, but it's just this idea that, you know, so we've created this situation. We can tell a new story. We could take a character like Warren Worthington and make his arc from. Let me give you this idea. Warren Worthington, millionaire playboy, is a mutant, winds up in a freaking East German fight club. How did that happen? Loses his wings. Apocalypse comes. He is his redeemer and savior. That is a beautiful arc to tell. But it's not the one we get. Instead, we get a rehash of Magneto. Oh, I lost my family. I hate humans. Oh, wait, maybe I'm not so bad a guy after all. You know, after I've already killed like 1 billion people today. You know?
Well, every movie is a rehash with Magneto. Half the movie he's against Xavier and the X-Men, and the other half him and Xavier are buddies. It's the same thing every movie.
But it
Or as
doesn't.
Tumblr likes to say, Eric, no. And then Magneto saying, Eric, yes.
You know, they could just. But that's the thing. It's like, yes, they do tell that story again and again, but they don't have to. They could actually tell a new story. They could actually have Magneto do something different. They could, scary as it seems, have a different villain. You know.
Or even in the 80s for a couple years, Xavier went off into space with this Shi'ar, and Magneto was basically running the X-Men, or at least the New Mutants for a while.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of things. There's great stories to be told. They just have to try and tell them, you know? And that's the thing. You actually can have the difference in the movies from the comic books is that because the movies are temporal items, you can actually have characters grow and change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there's only so many years that John Stewart's going to be Charles Xavier. There's only so many years that Ian McKellen is going to be Magneto. And even now, McAvoy and Fassbender, they can only do this stuff for so many years. It can only be Wolverine for so many years if you're Hugh Jackman. As a result, you can actually tell a really growing arc for Wolverine. You can tell a growing arc for any of these characters and come across something new to say.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to just redo the same story again with bigger stakes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And for what it's worth, that is what Captain America has gotten so right. Every story they've told with Captain America has been a different story. The first was your standard origin, and it's about heroes fighting against villains, straightforward. We know who the bad guys are. Episode 2, we don't know who the bad guys are because it turns out the bad guys were with the heroes and the world is much more gray. Third one, the gray world that we had from the last one is still here, and that's why we can't trust what's going on, and we're going to have to fight about it. I mean, they're completely different tales. They're completely, and each one informs the last. Everything that happens in the first one tells you something that's going to happen in the next one, and then the next one after that, and that is a good storytelling. That is a trilogy rather than just 3 movies with the same characters. You know, and that's the problem with these things is sometimes they just tell 3 movies with the same characters. And that's not a trilogy. That's just a set of movies with a recurring character. You know, whether you're Tony Stark or Otto von Zipper, you know, it's only a trilogy if there's growth to the character. Now, I do think we have had growth to Tony Stark, definitely culminating in his promises to get rid of the armor in the third one, though he then puts the armor back on. And
Which you knew he was going to do.
I'm sorry?
You knew he was going to do it, but you knew he was going to do that.
But yeah, but of course, that is why when they get to the fourth one, they've got to put Rhodey in the armor because that's the one where Tony has to break it because he has to realize some things are more important than being Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there are things more important than being Iron Man. And that's where you have to go to, you know. And of course, what 3 was supposed to be about, what it really was about, was that, you know, even without the armor, he was still Tony Stark. He was still something. He was still a force of nature and something to be reckoned with, even without his armor. And then, so when he blows up the armor, it's him saying, "I don't need the armor. I am." Here's what I say. You know, the biggest problem with Tony Stark in the Marvel Universe is that the armor the CGI armor is cheaper than paying Robert Downey Jr. to be on set. So it's like, oh man, well, we'd love to do a thing where Tony just gets out of the armor, but we got to pay Tony. We got to pay Robert Downey Jr. We got to pay him the same if he's in the armor or not. And we put him in the armor. At least we don't have to pay him to be on set. We don't have to have his assistants there and all that stuff, you know. So I'm sure they save money every time he's in armor, which is why he's still in armor after the third one, you know. But that's the thing, and you know, if the X-Men are ever going to be what Marvel Disney is they have to start thinking about trilogies and quadrilogies and how a story builds. Because that's the thing, you don't have to have just a set trilogy. You just have to say, we're going to build off what happened last time. We're going to go into the next thing. Instead of all of this jumping back and jumping forward. And granted, the X-Men are known for time travel. We do know that that's what they do. But still, it's like, you know, just have some consistency of story, you know, and just go forward from there. And I think they could do that with the universe as they have it set up now, but I don't know. I think they gotta figure out what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, bring in Deadpool. I mean, they already said the second movie's gonna have Cable in it, right? There's your X-Men connection. Cable, the son of Cyclops.
Well, yeah, but you know what? A lot of these, you know, I don't know why, but so many of these people are so afraid to cross the streams. You know, it's like there's even talk about whether or not the new Legion TV show they're developing is going to be set in the X-Men universe, or if it's going to be its own thing. And I kind of think it kind of has to be its own thing, because isn't Legion Maria McTaggart and Charles Xavier's child? If I recall correctly, is that correct? Or
I know he's Xavier's son. Is Moira's?
Or is it the? Yeah, I'm thinking it's Moira or the other one, but I'm pretty sure it's Moira.
Yeah. So you know, to me,
but yeah, you're right. It has to be its own thing, because I mean, you're not going to be bringing in a Wolverine.
It's an alternate timeline or something.
Main X-Men.
Yeah. Well, unless they make it
like how Wolverine
and what's her name from the other Maria McTaggart we've had.
Oh, for like 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah, I forget who played her. In my mind, I think it's the actress who played Beverly Crusher, but I know that's not actually the case.
No.
Oh, it would have been so awesome if it was.
Unless they just bring in like, you know, crappy third-rate X-Men like Mara.
Yeah, well, that's what they'll do. You know, that's sort of what they did. That's sort of what they did with Deadpool.
PDP people.
Yeah. But no, that's what they did with Deadpool. They you know, they got, although, and again, they actually had the best Colossus yet. You know,
Deadpool, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, is like, you know, they say, we'll give you Colossus. No one can make Colossus work. And no, we made Colossus work because we actually cared about Colossus and the story we were going to tell with Colossus. You know?
How greater would these X-Men movies be if you had like Deadpool and they're breaking the fourth wall? It'd be like, wow, you look really good for 10 years older, or, you know.
Yeah, well, then you get too much into the silliness of it. And that's the thing. You don't want to always... Deadpool is good for what he does.
I mean, but, don't do it as much as his own movie, but, you know, just drop like a line or two.
Yeah,
in a movie.
I mean, well, here's what I'm going to say is that you don't necessarily even need Deadpool in it. You just need to have respect for the characters. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, do you know why? Do you know why Colossus worked in Deadpool? Because he had more than two lines.
He had a Russian accent.
And he actually had a character. He actually had a character and a motivation and a reason for being. And he was he was the good guy, Peter, that we have from the comics, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the Captain America. You know, he is the morally good man in a world of darkness. And you need that in comic books. Because that's the only thing that makes any of it make any sense, is if someone is going to have a moral center. If someone with power chooses to be a hero,
Yes.
4 or 5 times. That's all it takes. 4 or 5 times you got to step up and be a hero, and that's what makes you a hero. Everyone thinks being a hero is every day. No, it's just when you have that moment to be a hero, you take it and you be the hero. And that's what makes comic books make sense. And I do think that Disney Marvel gets that. I don't know if anyone else who has the rights to any of these characters, including Warner Brothers, gets that. It's good that Jeff Johns is now the head honcho of the filmic things. And for what it's worth, I'm going to say this right now. Suicide Squad is looking better.
Garbage.
Oh, you don't like it? I don't know. They did the new.
From what I've seen of it.
I liked the second trailer, and they didn't, because I was worried because they're going to make it all jokey now. But the second trailer came out, and it was calm. It still had the music backdrop. There was still humor, but they did deal with darkness and violence, and we had the Joker, and I thought it kind of worked. It worked for me.
The Joker's gonna kill it. I'm just saying that Jared Leto Joker's gonna kill it.
If that is the Joker.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's one of the 3.
Yeah, it's one of the 3. It's one of the 728 Jokers, as has been established on Gotham even before this. Gotham gave us the hint that it's not one Joker; it's the Joker virus. It's the Joker meme.
Charlie, you didn't hear the big news about the Joker in the comics?
Yeah, it's 3 different guys.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Oh, is there something else in there?
No, that's it.
There's also in the Batman Eternal, there's like the White Man, so that the Joker has been around forever, apparently.
The Immortal, the Pale Man.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, whatever it's called. Something like that.
So anyway.
The dark, yeah.
Sorry.
But hey, I'm cool with that, And again, I mean, all the stories about Jared Leto on set, they sound stupid. And I think they've been hyped up. I don't think he did half the stuff they say he did on set. I think that's someone in PR just saying, oh, he's all jokery, woo, boo, scary, scary. He probably pulled some stupid practical jokes on set. So does George Clooney. There's a great story about George Clooney.
At least he has a house in Italy on Lake Como that he could take you to. I'm just saying. To make up for it.
But, so I don't think Jared Leto was quite the crazy, but I think he's actually going to be a decent Joker. I think he's making his own way. I mean, he is the Macaulay Culkin Joker, He is, what if that kid from Home Alone grew up and fell into a vat of playing card chemicals, essentially is the story. And I'm totally buying it. Well, you saw that first picture of Jared Leto Joker where he does the thing on his face and he's making the Home Alone face, It's like, that's what I got from that. It's Kevin McAllister all grown up and now he's the Joker, and he's gonna set these crazy.
Maybe we should give a grade.
The Joker versus Joe Pesci, yes.
There you go. My grade for this film, I'm going to give it a B-. I really didn't hate it. As down as I am about it, I'm down. You know what it is? I'm going to give it a C+ with the understanding that I know they could have gotten an A.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a bad film, but you could have done so much better. You're doing the barest of minimums here. It wasn't as bad as Batman v Superman. It was not as bad as Fantastic Four. It was about like most. It was like most X-Men films. Is how I'm going to say it. It's like if it's a mutant film, it's a retread of certain ideas, and sometimes they're better and sometimes they're worse. This one was not one of the better ones, but they could do so much more. So I'm going to give it a C+. It's passing. It's high passing, but you can do better, and I know you can.
Right.
Get on that honor.
All right, I'm scared. Lilith, what's your grade?
It's a C minus.
Oh,
Still passing though.
Yeah. By the skin of
Barely.
its teeth, like I said.
Yeah.
It had too much squandered potential for me. And then also it's like, okay, like they give all the stuff to McAvoy and Fassbender and it's terrible. And then they underdevelop freaking Mystique and Beast. And it's like, okay, but at the end, they're the two that's running the school. So shouldn't you have let the other two fall back? That's all.
Yeah. Oh,
And I
and
was
Beast
kind
looks
of-
just bloody awful, by the way. Why did they give him blue fur? Why does he look like he's made of cotton candy now? And why are all mutants blue? Like,
For
what
the
is that? That's like a
kids.
thing with
Social media. Blame it on the millennials. That's why also most social media is blue to remind us of the sky because we don't get out. No, seriously, that's the theory behind that.
Yes, but I mean, at least with Mystique and Nightcrawler, isn't she his mother though? So that's how.
I don't even know how that's possible at this point.
She's
that's a
secretly
grown-
immortal too. Just saying.
Well, she's a shapeshifter. You can always make yourself look young if you're a shapeshifter.
But what I'm saying is, so we know that she is approximately the same age as McAvoy's character. Okay.
Yeah.
Which means somewhere she had to have the Vashtuti with the character from First Class. I don't recall her having the Vashtuti with the character from the First Class, who looked like,
the devil one.
Yeah.
As Azazel or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, Azazel. Azazel was
Because he was dead by the 70s, wasn't
yeah. Well, yeah, but he's
Yeah, because
supposed
the
to
first
be.
one is 63. So
he?
Yeah, but he's supposed to be like his father, right? He's supposed to be
Yeah.
Nightcrawler's father, and he's like Mystique, and sure, why not?
the only thing I can think is, were they both with Magneto at the end of that movie? So maybe
Maybe he's Magneto's son too. I don't know.
the movie was in 63. Maybe by like 64 or something, she was pregnant. Who knows?
secretly.
But you'd think she'd have remembered being pregnant and giving birth to a devil baby. And that might have come up. Although then again, that might have explained why she was there that night, that he was there, because she had been following him, left him with the circus.
Mm-hmm.
But then they don't even imply, and that's the thing, like there's all this family drama in the mutant community with Peter and and Magneto, and Mystique and Nightcrawler, and no one's talking about it. Although what kind of bugged me in that was that Aurora was told by Mystique that Quicksilver is. So they're all gossiping about it, but somehow Magneto's still oblivious. So that makes no sense.
Well, that's why I said it. It's a Fox movie. Maybe Nightcrawler isn't her son. Who knows? They trample all over.
Well, that's fine if they want to do that.
material.
The fact of the matter is Nightcrawler wasn't her son for like decades. You know, he just sort of like, hey, you got blue fur, I got blue fur. What's that about? When he sees her first in her true form back in the 80s, but then they don't actually touch on that until like a decade later in the 90s, I think. Where
It
they
might have even been after that. Yeah.
give
Plot
that secret
twist.
origin.
Beast is really his father. Boom.
That makes perfect
Mic drop.
sense, actually. If
Yeah.
Mystique and Beast had a kid at some point after that, which they clearly have some kind of a relationship going on,
Yeah, at least in this
that makes
universe,
perfect
makes
sense.
Yeah.
Because his powers are actually very similar to the Beast's. Because he jumps around and he flips around, but then he has this teleportation power. Because sure, why not?
Oh,
Um,
Phil, what'd you grade it?
Well, I was flip flopping, but I guess I was close, so I'll split the difference between you two. This is a straight up C.
Okay.
yeah.
I just don't like what they did with a lot of these characters, like I said, Angel and Psylocke, and even Storm to a certain extent. I just think they trampled all over the legacy of those characters. And
Although I will say they did a great job with Caliban.
for
That
the 2
was
seconds he was in it.
That was like the best Caliban ever. And I'm a huge fan of Caliban, so.
That's like the first live action Caliban I think we've gotten.
They had a guy in, I think it was X2, who was sort of a Caliban. I don't know if they ever called him Caliban, but he could like detect mutants.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But he wasn't this guy, you know. But this guy, I thought, he did a really great take on the Caliban character, and very different from the comic book character, but in a good way, you know. And that's the thing. That's what this film needed, was more stuff like that, where you're going to break from the comic book character, but you're going to give them something meaty. And that's why I get back to with Warren Worthington. Like, okay, we're going to break with what we have in the comic book, but then give the guy a couple of lines so that he can have something worthwhile. All we get is that, oh, I'm mad because my wings are burnt. You know. Maybe they'll grow back. I don't know. Feathers tend to grow back, you know. Birds do lose feathers, and then they grow their feathers back. That's sort of what birds do. You know, it's called...
All right. You know what? We could beat up on this movie all night, but let's get out of here. We're like at an hour 26 already.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right, but Charlie, you want to give your social media?
Yes. Well, if you'd like to write to me, you can always do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. And, of course, you'd like to tweet with me. Someday I'll get back to live tweeting The Incredible Hulk on MeTV at 7 o'clock on Saturdays, when I don't have 100 things to do at 7 o'clock on Saturdays. But you can do so at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality.
And Miss Lilith Hellfire.
Well, you guys can tweet with me. I'm doing Preacher right now at Lilith Hellfire. If you are on Tumblr, it's lilithhellfire.tumblr.com, and you can always read some interesting things on my website, lilithhellfire.com.
And as for me, you can discuss any of this Marvel or DC stuff with me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am at nightwingpdp. You can catch me on a few DC podcasts with Lilith, Newcastle Crew, the new Queen Consolidated coming soon, World's Finest, and you can catch me and Charlie on All New Marvel Roundup and Super Connectivity on the Nuff Said feed. All right. Is that it?
Yep.
That's all I got.
All right. We're out. I think the next movie is into Suicide Squad in August then, so movie wise.
We got July off.
Yeah.
How nice
one of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So it's late. I say we all adjourn, and I'm gonna curl up in bed, get the laptop out, and write my X-Men cosplay. You know, the Lilith Hellfire Club.
Awesome. Have a good one, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.